We're in Masechet Avodah Zarah. We are up to Daf Daled. The first few blocks are Agadata, so we'll continue. And the Gemara is up to the first wide line, about 12 or 13 lines on top, more 15 lines on top of the page. Rab Chinina bar Papa Rami. Rab Chinina bar Papa asks the question. Ksiv, in one pasuk it says that Shakai, that Hashem loy mitzonu shagi koyach. Hashem does not have that much strength. Uksi, but another place says, Godol Adenenu, great is grand as Hashem, but Rav Koyach. And he expends lots of Koyach. Uksi, when it says, Yimincha Hashem Nedori Koyach, Hashem is what is glorified with his Koyach. What's going on here? Does he use a lot of Koyach or does not use a lot of Koyach? Like Kasha, Kan B'Shas Adin, Kan B'Shas HaMechama. During war, Hashem expends a lot of Koyach. B'Shas Adin, David has little Rachmanas, and therefore he reduces the Koyach somewhat. So that shouldn't be that harsh. So the Rab Chama bar Chanina Rami, Rab Chama bar Chanina asks, see, but one part it says, Chema ainly. I have no anger, I have no chema. You remember the different kinds of anger we had in the Dorim, Af and chema. I have no chema. Yet in another part it says that the Noikim Hashem will take revenge, Ubal chema. But the Eibishter who was a Baal chema, he does use his chema. Like Kasha. Remember we learned there that Moshe Rabbeinu was scared. And like Kasha, it's not a Kasha. Can be Yisrael, can be Eivichavim. By Yidden, we say, Ein Chema. I don't use Chema against Yidden, even though we might deserve it. But by Goyim, I do use Chema when they deserve to be punished. Rav Chinna bar Papa, Omar Chema, Ainli, Hashem says, I have no Chema, Shekvar Nishbati. I already swore that I won't use my Chema anymore. Nevertheless, I say, Mi Yitaneni, I wish that Shalom Nishbati. I wish I could have not made that shua. I would have then done and punished them straight away and used my chema to punish them straight away. They should regret it, but he didn't take it away. I know, but will come on that day. I want to destroy the goyim. What do I want to destroy? I want to. Me. Who did I asked? Who did he ask? Who did Hashem consult? I will search the nigoni shalahem. I will search in their books and in the records to see how things were. If they have any merits after, I will release them or redeem them. If not, ashmidem. That's what I'm going to research. I don't see this is what Rava says. It says the pasuk, I do not want to punish them. If the pidai. If I find Peter, Peter is lehen, sure they'll be saved. If I can find a reason to save them, I will save them. What's Peter? Peter, we're going to see in a minute, is when a tiny girl pecks away and looks for food. It searches and piece by piece, which means the Abish is going to punish piecemeal instead of giving one full punishment. It'll be piecemeal. I'm not going to about Yisrael. Yisrael. When I judge the Eden, ain't anidan oisam kevcham. I will not treat them like goyim. By goyim, it says in the positive by goyim. Ava, they went out of the way to the sin and ava semenos. I will punish them completely. That's by goyim. And how will I punish the Eden? Picture Tanagoylas. Look at Tanagoylas. Looks even for small little is what it does. There's little pieces. So I'll do the same thing. I'll punish them piecemeal. Another pshat when we kipid, I feel any so talking about mitzvahs. Even if we do trivial mitzvahs, lefanai kimaat, even little mitzvahs. Kipid Tanagoylan. Since Tanagoylan they search for even small little pieces of food, tiny. I will do the same thing. Shemenakrim ba'ashba. They search in the tip and they look for even small pieces, minute pieces of meat. Is ani mitzar for the cheshbon gadol. I will combine them and to and make a big cheshbon out of that. So this is a positive thing. Then it says im bepidei lahen shua, and if bepidei the small little things that will be a salvation for them. The third shot, b'schar shemeshavin lefanai, the merit that they daven for me, the screaming for me, and Mashiach I'll help them. Behind the Rabbi said, this Rabbi said, it says the pasuk. I will redeem them. I'm going to save them. How am I going to save them? By punishing them, but piecemeal. And yet the they make up all these lies about me. Oh, the Eibush is mean. The Eibush is full of gevura. They don't realize I'm doing it for their own benefit. I said I'm going to punish them. How I redeem them? Using their money. They'll lose some money some places. and that will be a kapara for everything else. And that's what we walk around saying. If something bad happens, oh, this should be a kapara. Other has in this world, they just go to haba, so they can go straight to haba, and they don't. Hey, like and they say, oh, they say think like a liar. They say that they accuse me of being, angry God and so on. I know puppy much made it of. This was a lot of members of the Papa's family involved in this murder. I know about a puppy, much made it of. A puppy is the name of the magic is in Pasik. I punish them, and what I do by punishing them, I strengthen their arm. I'm punishing them, I'm making them stronger. And yet, the Elah Yechashura, they think that I'm doing something bad to them. This is everything Tanya says, Chas Hashem, things bad happen because it comes from a higher Magdrega, higher level of Gilui. I said I will punish them in this world to strengthen their arms and them haba. And yet they treat it as if I'm trying to hurt them. Rabavu once praised in front of, whenever it says minim, generally you're talking about, usually it's about Eden who are apokursim, not goyim. So he prayed to these minim that Rab Safra Adam Gadol. Rab Safra was a very great person. As a result of that, they took the taxes off Rabavu for 13 years. Not sure exactly why. Why? Maybe they were looking for Talmud Chacham, whatever. So they rewarded him for that. That's a good question. Who they take this tax? So maybe not from Rab Safra. Maybe from Rab Safra, not from Rabavu. Maybe Rab Safra. Could we have an Al-Gemara Babasa? We had more of a basa that Talmud Chacham doesn't pay taxes. You're right. Talmud Chacham doesn't pay taxes. So maybe in the fact that he said that this person says that Talmud Chacham, okay. So they took off the taxes. Good. One day after they found they met. No, they never tested him. They just trusted implicitly what Rabavu said. One day they encountered Rav Safra. They said to him, "Oh, we have a question on a pasuk. Ksiv, it says in the pasuk, only you I know, you the Eden I know from all the nature of the world. I'll came therefore, I'll punish you all their sins. Man, the East Sisya, if somebody is angry, he'll vent his spleen only against his friends. Usually, if you're angry, you vent it against your enemies. And here, because I love you, I'm gonna punish you. What's going on here? Ishti Lamlamidi didn't answer. They didn't know what to answer. Romale Sudra bit Savori. They took his handkerchief, the normal Tabachachim says, Soid Hashem Lerei of Sudra. They put it down to his neck. Because Mitzadele. Or they just stopped, put a thing around his neck, and they just caused him pain. They were so upset with themselves why they trusted Rabbi Vud, that this guy's a Tabachachim. He didn't know, he couldn't even explain to them a passing in Tanakh. Says the Gemara, now you said before, who learns Amos? This is an Amos. So he says to him, also Rabavu met these minimum. Why did you bother him? Why did you cause him pain? You told us Gadlu. He didn't know pshat in the pasuk. So Rabavu said, "Hey, madam, very important, interesting Gemara. Hey, madam, but when I say the Talmud Chacham, he knew everything that's Oterish Bapeh, Mishnayis, and so on. But the Kroi, I never told you he knows Chumash and Tanakh. Which Talmud Chacham knows Tanakh? Tosis in Baba Basa Daf Kufya Gimel on the top of the page, the very top Tosis says, "Amoroi le b'ki b'kroi," because they're arguing there about a pasuk, and in the very same pasuk that he used the word, the guy, the other might have said, but the next word, it said Yitapkun, and he didn't know that the pasuk said that. So Tosis says that Amoroi le b'ki b'kroi, and it means that I have in Baba Kama that he asked her, how come the first one says Dibras Shol Tanchem? Why in the first it says the asked two of Why in the first it says L'mayitavloch, and the second one it doesn't? And he said to them, "What do you ask me? Why? First ask me what Bechal says, and that says I don't know." So Teisha says that it's a pellet, because why doesn't Teisha bring right here this Gemara, which is more mefudish? Here it says Gemara that Tanaim did not know. And what's Pshat? How come they didn't know? So Barachas of Chavtes and Beis, they went to Rabbi Lezer and Hurkanis and said to Hurkanis, they said to him, give us some last minute advice. And Rabbi Lezer said to them, one of the things is you should manaya min hagoy. You should manaya your children min hagoy. So normally everyone teaches a goy means philosophy. Don't teach your kids philosophy. The Rajba had a takana until 40 years old. You're not allowed to learn philosophy. Only over 40. You have to be grounded, like the Rambam says. You have to be full of lechem. You have to have all the teidah shabbat peh, munah bekupsa, and then you can go ahead and learn other things. Rashi says, Yimonam in going, don't learn Tanakh. Because he said because the Tanakh is Moshe. In other words, it gets so involved. Pashup Rashi, it gets so involved in Tanakh, you want to do other things. However, the look in the Neidah Behuda, the Slach, on that Rashi. The Slach says, you look, the Maskilim started, how the Maskilim operate. The Maskilim all know how to learn Gemara. They look for him, but they were a Chalap person. What they did was they went to Vilna, all these places where we had these smart young men who can learn, and they would give them Shiurim and Tanakh, and just plant seed questions. This is David HaMelech. This is how this behave, and look at the Shaftim, how they all these Shaftim, how they behave. Shimshon HaGiber, how he behaved, and so on. And by planting these questions, because that's how they said. If you want to know the answers, go to Berlin. We have a yeshiva there, which unfortunately, so the says, but they taught in Tanakh. So maybe it says, therefore you have to avoid Tanakh because you can raise more questions than answers. Even though there used to be a Seder in 770, Motzei Shabbos, beside Hayom, and Motzei Shabbos they learn yeshiva Tanakh. Then the Rebbe one year touched your tests. Change it. You should learn Masechtas Zvachim. You should learn Kabbanis, which we are going to do soon. Remember, Rashi says the most difficult Masechtas Shas Zvachim, so we're going to do that in a couple of months. Anyway, let's continue. So Amrullah said to Nu, you tell us. Maishna Atun Diaditin, you know to tell us. Amalu, sorry. So how come you know Tanakh? We ask you all these questions Tanakh. How come you know? If you tell me that Amoraim don't know Tanakh? Amalu, he said to them. We hang around, you minim hang around us. We need to know answers. We have no choice. We have a responsibility to be able to answer you. They don't look in because they don't hang around the minim. No, if you hang around minim, like if you learn Rabbi Yeshua, he knew how to answer all the minim and so on. Yeah, so if you hang around the person. I never told Emmanuel Shachar that you can go ahead and debate with Galachim. Certain people, that's what they do. So you tell us that. I'll give you an example. A person is owed money by two different people. One is his friend and one is his enemy. Oh yeah, but his friend, he says, you know what? Pay me a little bit at a time. But enemy pays in one go. And that's what he's saying. I'm going to punish you piecemeal to make it easier, so that we can cleanse you and expunge all that. Avram said to how can you kill the whole Doim Muhammad Tzadikim Rosh if I can find Tzadikim? How can you kill everybody? What's he saying here? He said that is like an embarrassing, and it's disgraceful for you to go ahead. And it's chulin that you should go ahead and kill Tzadik Rasha. So you might have no, but see, there's a phrase of pasuk where it says in the pasuk v'ichrati, that it says when the chul makes English v'ichrati mechad Tzadik v'Rasha. So he says the Tzadik she'einu gomer. That's talking about a Tzadik she'einu gomer. Tzadik she'einu gomer, they also get killed with a shrine. But Tzadik gomer loy. But see, it says mimigdoshai techelu. It says mimigdoshai, and we learned in Mar Shabbos right here. But Rabbi Yosef al tika migdoshai elam mimigdoshai, from the holiest people start the chur beis hamikdash. Start from the holiest people. Elu bnei adam shekaimus hatoyde me'alav ataf. If you remember, it says over there, where in Mar Shabbos it talks about in the pasuk where it says all those people that have a tuff on the head, they should be killed. And then we said tough. We had different opinions what tough is. But one of them is that the tough is those that kept entire Torah from Aleph until tough. They kept entire Torah. Tzadikim, Gemurim. You kept them Aleph till tough. The other one is tough is these Techaya, and tough is these Tamus. You have certain people, they're both tough. A tzaddik let live and a Rasha kill. But here's a Mikdasha Chel Vitam Mimikudasha. Hasanami Kivin Shehem Biyad Limchal Micha have the Katik Gemurim. They should have been Meichav. You're culpable also because you could have stopped them. The teacher already asked, but we have a rule that mutavi. Sometimes we say it's better not to interfere if you know they're not going to do anyway. So mutavi yeshoga yimazidin. So teacher says that over there is talking about that there's talking only if you knew that they wouldn't listen. Here they didn't know. The Gemara itself in Shabbos says that they said to the Eibishter, the Eibishter says, but why should I kill the Mukadosha? The people wouldn't have accepted anyway. So they answer back, but the tzaddikim didn't know that. You're the Eibishter, you know everything. But the tzaddikim didn't know that, so they have an onus to go ahead and to be mechiach. Ask a question. See, it says Eibishter angry every day. Who can withstand such anger? No, but the Eibishter would be angry, we wouldn't exist. Like Kasha, can be Yochid, can be Tzibur. No, Yochid Eibishter does not get angry. every day. Because if he gets angry every day, he wouldn't be able to cope. Against the tzibur, he could, because the tzibur can override that anger. How long is David angry for rega? And become rega, how long is a second? So we say that a second, this is actually different than when we're looking at brachas, but here we say it's a second is echas 1 out of 50,000, 1 out of 53,000, shmoin meis and 800 and 48 in an hour. 1 out of 53. I don't know exactly what the cheshbon is.
Portion of it, that's much less than a second.
Much less than a second. Much less than that. We have chalakim, we have the chalakim, but we have other cheshbonos 24 by 24 by 24, which works out to 13,500. But where do you get the cheshbon of 53? I'm not sure. She says the only one who was able to ascertain that second is the bilin. It says the Yodei Das Elyon. He knew exactly, precisely when the Abishah gets angry. And Teisha said this wasn't Nevuah. Because in Nevuah, then every Navi would know. This was he, somehow or another, he figured out. So the Gemara, what do you mean he figured out? He didn't understand the movements of his own donkey, and he would know and he could figure out what the Abish is that nobody else in the world knew. My das behem deliver, but he didn't know the das of the behemoth. We didn't have a chamre when the chazal the haverach chamre when the Ziknei Moav came in and saw him riding on a donkey. My time below the chavta sister went on a horse, and generally they all drove on it. But yeah, Avram also went on a donkey. But since you're in a rush to go ahead, you don't like the Eden, and you really want to go ahead and curse them, and now you have finally permission to go. Why don't you go with your horse? Make it quicker. I'm a little bit of Tibish. I didn't know I was going, so I sent it off over here somewhere out in the swamps. But Taimir also, what do you mean? And my donkey is only to carry things around here. So donkey's voice is up. What do you mean? I'm here all the time at your service. I'm a little Tina Balma. Yeah, you're only here to carry, you're a freight, my freight, courier. I'm gonna lay, what do you mean? You rode on me. Yeah, I'm gonna yes, sometimes I did, occasionally, but not now. I'm gonna lay, she said, but usually I don't. I was always there, ready and waiting for you. I'm your donkey by day as your rider, and at night I'm your what do you call it? Your partner. How do I know that? Here it says a haskin is can't ever endanger you, but we also find by David Melech when he was old and sick and frail, they had this woman come in and there the lashon is by the pasuk that this sort of woman that what that should take care of David Melech. So therefore, the donkey, and what do you call it? And he had no idea what the donkey was saying. What do you mean he knew Das Elyon? He knew exactly. Not that he stammed. No, at first we thought of Yedei Das Elyon. He pushed knows everything the Abish is thinking. How is that possible? He couldn't know what his own donkey is thinking. That he had to that he knows Das Elyon. So he answered no. But what he means is that he knew precisely the second the Abish gets angry. How he figured it out. If Teisha says he didn't, how do you figure it out? Don't know. The Navi says to him, Ami, Zechorna, my yoatz, Ami, my nation, the Abisha says, Zechorna, my yoatz, Balak, Melech, Moav. Remember what Melech Moav, wanted from Bilam. Uma honor is Bilam ben Boim Shemaim. But Bilam answered him Ashittim. Va'ad Hagilgu, the man you should know, Tzidkas Hashem. What's the Tzidkas Hashem? Where did you see the Tzidkas Hashem of it? How many miracles happened? So I get angry every day for a second, and Bilam knew the precise that second. I never get angry during those days. If I would have been angry, it would not be left over. From I'm not sure what the Chavim here is. It says that in the original Ksavi didn't have the word Mergichavim. Misarneim Yisrael studied the polit. And this is an expression, this is a euphemism against Eden, but we don't want to say that. Behind you come like Bilam the Balak. Bilam said to Balak, what do you want? You want me to curse? They shouldn't curse. So Hashem didn't get angry. The Kama Zama, how long is that anger? Rega. The Kama, how long is it Rega? Very difficult. Everyone asks. The Gemara just told us a minute ago on the bottom of the page how long a rega is. 1 out of 53,800. What's the Gemara asking me? Rega. So the question is, as the Gemara itself says, what can you say in a rega? What can you say? Not how long the time is, but he's going to say something to curse the Eden. What kind of curse can you say to Eden? So a rega kememra. So Tosfos over here says, Rega Kememra. What can you say in Rega Kememra? So Tosfos says he could have said the word Kolem. Koleim, which means annihilate them. And the Eibishter went ahead and said, he turned around the word Koleim to Melech, Utruas Melech Boy. And therefore, the Eibishter, that's Mahapech Meklol Levracha. Chassidus explains, what's Pshat? He wanted Koleim. Koleim is Rosh Hashanah, Koved Lev Mayach. That he wanted that Rishayim Abashus Libum. He wanted that their emotions should overcome their Mayach, and even though the Mayach tells them you have to behave, you have to follow Torah mitzvahs, but their hearts. And that's what he did with B'nai Smayav. He tugged at their Koved Lev to overcome the Mayach. And the Abishah said, no, he's not going to be Melech, through us Melech Boy, Mayach Lev Koved. That they're going to remain tzaddikim. Anyway, the next answer to this is, as long as you started in that rega, you can go on as long as you want. That's the Chedush Shirim said. There's a big machlekes in two Terutzim and Taisus, because they once asked Chedush Shirim, how is it that Chassidim daven way after Chatzos, Shachris, way after the Zman? So he said to them, they start Bizmane, but they daven word for word through Pamelio, and therefore it takes them a long time to Chazmane. And that's what Taisus says here. As long as you start Bizmane, it doesn't matter where you finish. It's the starting. But the first answer Taisus says no, that you have to start and finish in that Zman. And that's the two opinions in Taisus.
Baruch once told me that I saw he would start davening with the early minyan in the morning, and then we go through the next minyan, and in the third minyan he was still going. So I once asked him, what do you do with tefillah b'tzibur? So he said to me, he once asked the Rebbe that he does it slowly, what should he do? The Rebbe says, just start with the minyan. The main thing is you should start with the minyan. What happens, happens.
So exactly right here. Saying what further. How do you know the David gets angry? You see, because it says the posse, he rega ba'apai chayim b'tzoynai. His rega ba'apai, that what he that his ba'apai, his anger is rega, and chayim, but life is b'tzoynai as long as he wants. The boy say mahacha from here when it says in the posse chaki rega, it says here kamat rega ad yabrazam. Why don't you wait a second till the anger passes on? When does he get angry? Omar Abaya said, I can't give you the definitive time, but I'll give you a rough idea. The first 3 hours of the day, when the crown on top of the Tanagoyl becomes white. But it's always white. It's always white. Every the other time there's a little red streak. Then it disappears for an instant. Rabbi Shub ben Levi Hamitzayla Humina, there was once an Apakatus in his neighborhood that gave him a hard time. Bekroy always taunted with psukim to prove exactly. So like the maskilim, they always use psukim to discredit whatever Chas Rahman Salam. One day, Noka Tanagoyla, he took the Tanagoyla, he put it right between the legs of his bed. But Ayin Bey, and he was looking. Somebody thought Kimota, he shaita Altaya. Now interesting, we just said a minute ago, the only one who knows is Bilam. So how in the world of Shimon Levi going to be outsmart everybody else in history, and he'll think that he can do it himself as well? No, but yeah, but we don't know Mechavan that second. How did he think that he can be Mechavan? If the Gemara said the only one's Bilam, what Abai gave a secret. So then wasn't only Bilam then. How you going to know that? How did Abai know? So he must have heard it from his teacher. So other people maybe know also. The Marshal wants to say there's a difference between the anger against the tzibur and the anger against the yachid. The anger against the tzibur is every day, and that no one knew except Bilam. The anger against the yachid, the Gemara says the Eibush is not every day, because then how could it says that you can't stand before the anger? But from time to time, the Eibush does get angry, and that was Abaye Simon. Abaye Simon was not for what the anger against the tzibur, because that only Bilam. And according to Abaye, anybody can figure it out. You have to be a smart man. You have to be a Bilam. Anybody can figure it out. So he said, no. What Abaye did was he told him the anger against the Yachid, and what did Shimon Levi want? Against the Yachid, not against the Tzibur. So different anger. And that maybe we can figure out. Anyway, Kimota Yishai, the point, the moment when it happened, Nimni fell asleep. Now, he could have done the same thing again tomorrow morning, but he decided, Shmamna Zarai, Gocha Pratis, it's not the right thing to do this. But Racham Avram Meiser says, David Rachman and everybody. It says, Kab Onesh L'Tzadik Loy Toiv. To punish a tzaddik also is no good. Tonabash made, in other words, it's not right to mete out punishments to others. You know when they get angry, when the kings put down their crown, and they all decide to worship the sun. That's when David gets angry. Rabbi Yisrael says, Leilitzla init slicer the Musafa. You should not daven Musaf betlasha kamaisa the yoma. You should not daven Musaf the first 3 hours of the day. B'yoma kama shasa. The first day of the year, Rosh Hashanah, where the Eibush is judging the whole world. It's not. You should not daven Musaf too early in the morning. You should have Ashkama minyan and have Musaf in the first 3 hours of the day. So Gemara says, the Shasa be yachid on your own. Why? At least on Yechidus. Dilma given the mafkid dina, because that's the time the Abish is looking and punishing people. And Dilma ma'ayne be'uv day, and that could be that the Abish will look into your din, and it won't be good. So the Gemara, if it's a bad time, the first 3 hours a day, then how come a tzibur we can daven musaf? So he said the tzibur nefishas chusay, even though it's not a great thing, but a tzibur can daven. Why? Because they have more chusim. The yochid, the tafanamilai. So why you tell me a yochid shouldn't daven musaf the first 3 hours a day? He shouldn't daven shachas also the first 3 hours of the day. Because the Eibush then is in a bad mood, and so on. Especially every day we're asking for Eibush for our personal tzrachim. It's even, we mamish davening to Eibush, help me. The fe'enu and baruch aleinu and all that. More says kivadika tzibura de kamatzle loikum because at the same time, like this, as Rashi explains, when it comes to musaf, you can daven all hours a day. Come to Shachris, you have a fixed time when you have to daven. You have to daven in the morning. So therefore, there must be a minyan somewhere in town that's davening Shachris at the same time as you're davening. So therefore, since you're in sync with those people, their chus extends to you as well. So the Gemara extends to you as well. Taisa says a very interesting thing. So Taisa said, why daven with a minyan? Stay at home and make sure you know the minyan daven 7:30 in the morning. So daven home 7:30 in the morning. As we just said right here, the chus of the minyan extends to you. So Taisa says over here, that all he does is Hashem is not going to push you away, reject you because he's in a bad mood. But the Eibush will not listen to your personal request as well. He won't punish you for whatever he's in a bad mood, but he's not going to grant you your request. You want your request granted only if you're down with a minyan, then you're guaranteed. As we look at our brachas. Setting on it further. Yeah. The Gemara's asking a question right now. And exactly opposite. Says the Gemara, I don't understand. Exactly, very good. Says the Gemara, before you said 2 days ago, you said, Sholosh Rishonis, HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yoshev V'Yiseh B'Torah. Now you tell me the first 3 hours the Eibush is down, the Eibush is judging. We learned before that the first 3 hours the Eibush is learning Torah. It's a second set of 3 hours that he's judging. So when Eifach, you're right, swap it around. The Eibush judges the first 3 hours. Easy answer. Torah, forget. This is interesting. Torah, the chsiv emes. Torah is called emes. The chsiv, it says in the pasuk, emes kenei. When it comes to learning Torah, be prepared to pay whatever it takes to have a good teacher and teach a Torah. Although al timkod, if you want to teach others, you have no right to collect money. Ma'ani b'chinam avatam b'chinam. Therefore, because Torah is called emes, there's no room for the fnimishus hadin when it comes to emes. And that's why we have a Sanhedrin of Omabez. The Gemara says that once you sit down for Din Torah and you heard the entire Din Torah and you know exactly who's right and who's wrong, you know what the Din Torah says, you're not allowed to go ahead and make up shana because it has to be emes. That's not emes because you already know what the Torah paskins. Oh, but the light cost of emes, but din doesn't say anywhere emes by din. Because Baruch Hu is din. There was I think I told you this. I just told you a few days ago that Yosef Atzadik, why he said the Chatasi, I've sinned to the if I have to do with Yosef Potiphar, why did he say Chatanu, that we sinned? So they asked this to Yaakov Melissa, and he answered. Yaakov answered because what do you call it? If an evil is in the Michshol, is not a problem between the Yid and the Goy according to some of the Shainim, and Yosef felt there's no Eva, so what do I care what she does about it? My problem is only what I'm doing in Aveda. I'm not doing anything. Her side of Aveda doesn't bother me, and the Eva doesn't bother me. But they told him, the Treva said that no, the pshat is that Yosef Tzaddik wanted to distance himself so much from her, not only in Maisa, but even Dibur as well, not to put her in the same sentence that we are together. It's totally thing because so the Rakalisa said, when it comes to the Torah, probably the literature world took the world of Torah. But when it comes to emes, that's only by Chassidim. But here it says that the Torah is emes, is one and the same. So you can learn. So we have a Torah as well. So you want to write it. Now we're going to learn a number of things. Shmuel said, I told you today to do structure, you do today. Today you do, not tomorrow. What do you mean? Because we already discussed the Gemara in the Nidud of Samachal, the whole discussion. Machlekes of Yechon of Yana, if mitzvahs betelus la'asad love, there's no mitzvahs. And Rabbi Shmuel Levi said the same thing. Hayom la'asayis, you can't do mitzvahs anymore. In Olam Haba. But today you do the deed, and tomorrow you get the schar. All the mitzvahs we do in this world, boys will make eaters they'll come and testify on your behalf. Remember, it says Yitnu Edaim, they'll give the testimony, and they will tzedakah, they'll justify you. The Yishmu Yemen, they'll say yes, true. Yitnu Edaim Eli Yisrael. But the Eden are the ones that will be the mitzvahs are going to stand up and testify you did the mitzvahs. Yishmu v'yom emes, who will listen? They will listen. Who will listen? Like we had yesterday, that these goyim are going to come and stand and defend the Eden, Nimrod and Lavan. All the mitzvahs in this world, boys, the mitzvahs will come, but Taifas will smack the goyim. Why couldn't you do these mitzvahs as well? I'll put them on the face. And it says, to the eyes of the goyim. Neged amlin, never say in front of the goyim. El einiam, the eyes. Melamed sheboys, but torifel yochavim apaneim lo'elam haba. Just going to smack them and humiliate them in olam haba to the goyim. Mishum Levi la'asi saw the egel. Why did the Eden do the egel? Ela litain pischein pele balachuva. You know why the Eibush allowed this whole thing of the egel? It was actually a positive thing to teach the Eden that you can do tshuva. You can do the worst Avodah, and yet you can reform and be contrite. But it says miyitin. It says in the pasuk, "Meyitin v'hoye levavim zeh that will give them that their heart should be leyira oisi kol hayom, to fear me all the days." And no, just talking about in Sinai. No, there's a chance that you guys can do tshuva, and as long as you're strong in the Yiras Hashem. Behind David was not suitable to have relations with Bathsheba. While she was still married to Uriah, even though the Gemara Shabbos stuff from here, Adam Baba says that because he wrote a get to their wives, but nevertheless, when he found out that she was pregnant, he sent Uriah Chiti to the. He gave a message, send Uriah Chiti to the front so that he should die. So otherwise, it'd be a problem because then, according to what Rashi learns, retrospectively, the get was given on Tanai. That if he doesn't come back, she's a free woman. That means she was free at the time. She wasn't Eish Ish when David had relations. But if he comes back, then she wasn't. Then she wasn't Eish Ish. So if he wanted that. So he says here, why did the taka happen? Even though he didn't do an Aveda, the whole thing didn't seem right, and he suffered for it all his years. But lo you saw ruin lo you Maisa, nor the Eden road to the Maisa the eagle. A month later, 40 days later, they're dancing around the eagle saying, Eila, so it can't be. Lo you David Maisa see libi cholo bekibi. David himself said libi cholo bekibi. My father was asked sometimes to do translations. The Rebbe wrote that famous letter, extrapolation, interpolation, whatever it is. He asked him to translate it into Yiddish or into English, I remember. But then the Tanya, there was a talk that they should translate the Tanya into Yiddish. So my father looked through the different Tanyas, and he told me that when he realized that the English got it wrong, he didn't want to take the chayes. And one of the examples that he gave me got it wrong is right here. The libi cholol bekibi. The word cholol can have two types. Cholol can mean a vacuum, like makom poni chol, and cholol can mean killed. Chol badam. Which one is it? So you look at the English Tanya. It says libi cholol bekibi. Pei the galv is empty. It's void. My father has totally wrong shot.
But the Tanya itself says shehargei b'tainis.
Yeah, but what's the taich cholol?
That's why.
No, he killed it. So what's that? So you're agreeing with the English taich?
No, I'm saying that the taich is that it's dead.
My father said chol means killed. Libi chol means literally libi chol bekibi. I killed the Yitzhara. And Rashi says here, libi chol Yitzhara chol bekibi. Yitzhara the chol in kirbi. The chol it was killed in kirbi. The ein le koyach lishle bekibi. No longer has the koyach. It's talking about that the Yitzhara was killed inside the lev, not chol a vacuum, but chol means killed. Anyway, so that's one of the reasons he decided that doesn't get involved, because it's very hard to get every taich right 100%. But lo Yisrael reading like Al Rebbe had to spend a long time to bring up yesh or yesh, even a letter. So imagine taiching a word. Anyway, lo Yisrael reading lo Yisrael, and the Eden not row for the Maisa. The Chsiv it says meyitin v'hoyel. Again, how do you know the Eden not row? Because meyitin v'hoyel levavam zelem leyira isi kol hayom. That they're so strong. They wish me all the time. So how did they bow down to an egel? I wanted them to give the pischa peh for tshuva. Elalama asa. Why did they do this? Loy malach. That's as if Rashi says this is Xeris and Melechai. So the Eibishter wanted them to bow down to the Egel. It's an amazing twist on the whole story of the Egel Hazov. The Kohen Gadol, he ain't snake, can't get a snake because of the eagle is over and all that. He can't go in, and yet the Eibush Dafka wanted. I mean, even B'Shas and Aveda, the Eibush wants an Aveda so that you can do tshuva and get to a high Madrig. Everything.
Because the Eibush tells Moshe Lech Reid, he tells him that it's Amcha.
Yeah.
Look at your people.
There's a beautiful sikh of the Rebbe.
But he was saying that he wanted them to do.
There's a beautiful sikh of the Rebbe in Chelik Hey Parshas Lecha base where the Rebbe talks about the idea, this conundrum. On the one hand, see right here, when a person has Aveda, clear, the Eibush is involved. And then we have Chir Chavshis. As if there are two parallel dimensions happening at the same time, based on the Maimer of Friedrich Rebbe Tovsheches. The two parallel dimensions happening, and it's emes, Feder the emes. We're having real Chir Chavshis, and Eibush is involved in your doing Aveda, like over here, right here. The Eibush wants them to do the Egel Azov. And yet we have Chila to do the Egel Azov. Very difficult, fine line to understand how you can have both working at the same time.
The Tanya brings the Moshe Hazayna from that.
Yeah, okay, but that's we're not sure that.
Has a job to do.
Yeah, but that's Yitzchak himself. So in Nachman, the Eibush wants you to do so that the Aliyah that comes afterwards is much higher than the Yerida. Anyway, we say, so what's the idea? If an individual doesn't have Veda, you think, I didn't have Veda, it's too late. Like I told you last time that after the Gerish Spain, all the people, the Moranos, so we ate chametz on Pesach, we ate Yom Kippur, we gave up Yiddishkeit, and that's why they wanted to build smicha, rebuild smicha and a bezel so that they could do tshuva and get malchus and move on. I mean, like look at David Melech. He sinned and yet he became David Melech. You have the tzibur for whole community sins. I mean, like look at Eden. They sinned, they glazov, and they moved on. David forgave them. Like we had now in the Pashas last week. And why need Yochid and Tzibur? Why do you have to see both two Avedas to teach us this lesson? If only the case of David Melech, I would say we should lemefas it was lemefas certain fanach a whole roof no. But at the time it wasn't so first. Everybody ziddled her out because what happened with her. But I guess they all found out afterwards. About Tzibur. The mefasich if the whole community doesn't have Veda, everyone knows. Because in addition to that Veda, it's a Chil Hashem. Maybe that's it. Too late. And we had more human that Chil Hashem. There's no kapara. The Yashmin and Tzibur, and if you tell me a Tzibur that Tzibur did a thing, Mishum the Fisher Achmayu, just like more Rachmanas we had before that a Tzibur can withstand the Zam of Hashem because the Tzibur has extra power, more Rachmanas. Aval Yachim, if you're an individual. The law yalim is chosei malay. Tzich nifin above. V'hainu da b'shmul b'shmul achben yomar ben shon siv zed pasik neum David ben Yishai. This is what David ben Yishai said. The neum hagever, and it says this person hukam al. What do you mean hukam al? So he said neum David ben Yishai shehekim oila shel tshuva. He lifted the idea of tshuva to a much higher level. What do you mean oila shel tshuva? What do you mean higher level? Because L'Poel David did not do aveda, but a machshava. At the time, it was like an Aveda because the Uri was still married. Or could have been, if he comes back alive, they're still married. So therefore, he lifted the oil of tshuva. He could even do tshuva on machshava as well. Because quickly finish Gemara. Anyone does a mitzvah in this world, single mitzvah, mitzvah in front of you, leads you, and you'll follow. We're all happy to follow somebody's taking us to a good place. It says a passage that the mitzvah will walk in front of you. The honor of Hashem, the glory of Hashem will gather you in. And anyone does one aveda, schlep you surround you and schlep you to Yemadin. Why would you want to go to a bad place? It says you laughter and wrap around him. It'll be attached itself to you like a dog. It says that Yosef Atzadik did not listen to Be'etzah by Tefera. Lishkav Etzel Lias Ima to lie with her and me next to her. Lishkav Etzel Bailam Haza and Lis Ima Bailam Haba. The Avedis always hang around even in Olam Haba. We'll stop over there. See you tomorrow, Mr. Shem.